Hey, everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of the Velvetcast.
Hey, what's up?
And for all you listeners... What? What the fuck was... This is the last Velvetcast of the year, everyone. I'm your host, Mitch. Joined with me, as always, is my best buds, Sora and Josh.
Hello!
Yeah.
And today we're gonna keep this relatively bi-topic cast. How do I word this? Before we get any further into this cast, there will be spoilers ahead. For the
Are we going?
Yeah, no, we're going full throttle. Like
We're just gonna do the whole thing. We're just gonna leave no. We're not even gonna try to leave spoilers out. At first.
No. Why would we? Like,
I don't know.
Like,
So,
it'll be fine. It'll be fine.
all right. So, spoilerific Last Jedi review.
Yeah,
discussion.
Absolutely. Because in my opinion, like, how many times do you go into a YouTube video and like spoiler free? Like, I want to talk about the spoilers, dude. I want to talk about like.
Are we going to do a spoiler-free section at the front end?
No.
No, we're just.
All right. We're going.
Just dropping. I called this video. Velvetcast 39, Last Jedi, MHA, Obstacle Course Review, spoilers.
All right.
So,
if you haven't seen the movie and you care, go away.
Yeah.
You don't need your views.
Yeah. This is the great last Velvetcast of the year. Fucking telling our fans to fuck off. So we're gonna go in kind of a different fashion. We're gonna talk about the movie first, and then we're gonna talk about My Hero Academia. So let's just get right into it. So we over the weekend we all went to go see Star Wars: The Last Jedi. For those of you at home that don't know, me, Sora, and Josh used to be giant nerds, and when I say used to, I mean constantly and still are.
Yeah, I was like, that hasn't changed.
But the thing that I want to point out is when we were nerds, we were made fun of for it.
Yes, those dark times in
like
middle school.
Like, can I be real here for like a second before we get into the review? Like, there's so many people out there who bullied the shit out of us and made fun of us behind our backs, and they're the ones wearing these fucking Star Wars shirts. I'm like, fuck you.
Yeah, I mean, part of me is really bitter, but also part of me is just really happy that like franchises like Marvel and Star Wars have like made being a nerd kind of mainstream. I'm happy about it.
You're the Jedi and I'm the Sith of this situation.
But no, there is the dark side with them being like, what the fuck? Like, I got so much shit for liking this shit. God, fuck you guys.
Well, because I was just telling Aaron and Jackie the other day about how like I got that fucking like fake love letter in my locker, and it just said like, "You're the Jedi of my dreams." I'm like, oh fuck, and I read that sentence being like fucking 14. I'm like, oh fuck this, fuck all of this.
Yeah.
And now it's cool to like Star Wars, but holy shit, fuck all of you. You know what? Enter the podcast now.
Bitter, very, very bitter 5 minutes. You didn't even say if you like the new movie or not.
All right. Let's get into Last Jedi. So, the thing with this movie is, I fucking loved this movie.
Yes. Okay. Good. Like, I purposely hadn't asked you what you thought about it because I was nervous.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the deal. I've heard arguments on both ends.
Yep.
I've heard the arguments for this movie, and I've heard the arguments against this movie. I 100% understand where the other ones are coming from, but I also feel like there was one specific comment. By the way, before I take over this entire conversation, Josh, what did you think of this movie?
I liked it a lot better than I thought I would.
Okay,
that's a big praise for everyone at home. That's a big praise.
So we're all pretty good. So from the top, we're all pretty big on this movie right now, at least.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Cool.
Especially after Rogue One, it's like, oh man.
Yes. Yeesh.
I'm not hearing that from you, Sora. It does like Rogue One.
It did have its flaws, but I still enjoyed it.
It was a fun movie.
And like the thing I will say is the thing that I noticed a lot of people were complaining about was the portrayal of Luke in this movie. And it's hard for me to go into this and not be like, yeah, I totally didn't check out a bunch of different reviews to see what they thought, and here's the amalgamation of those ideas. I had fun. I say that a lot in this show, and I say that a lot on this channel, but I think an important factor about watching a movie or consuming a piece of media is that you have fun, you enjoy yourself, it means something to you, you know? And this was one of those movies where, like, I genuinely had no idea where it was going. Like, not, that sounds bad.
It left you guessing. Like, it wasn't predictable. Like,
yeah.
And to quote Luke, it wasn't going the way you thought it was going to go.
No, of course. Like, well, and that's the thing. So, like, the movie, it's something that I noticed a lot of very similar ideas in reviews of this film was the idea that, like, this movie is very unpredictable for a Star Wars film, and it was because of how The Force Awakens dealt with the content, you know, it dealt with its predecessor, where where it was kind of like a loose copy of A New Hope. You know, a lot of people were looking for the Empire Strikes Back kind of comparisons, and they are there.
They're there,
but not nearly as much as, like, people either wanted them to be or not wanted them to be.
Oh, dude, I think that if this movie came out and was a beat for beat follow up to like similar to Empire Strikes Back, similar to how The Force Awakens, which I still really like, I still go to bat for that movie. If this was The Empire Strikes Back to The Force Awakens New Hope, I think people would be very pissed. I think people would be even more pissed than they are now. You know, like, people wanted something different, and this is definitely different.
Oh yeah, and sorry, and the thing, but I think that's what I like the most. One of the key themes of the movie is the conflict of the past, and, you know, and how you kind of deal with it. From Kylo's perspective, you burn it and you move forward. Rey's perspective is, you know, it's part of you. You know, seemingly that seems to be it. And
legacy thing.
Oh yeah, dude, you know how much I fucking love legacy shit. Like, I fucking like that. It was the best. And one of the things that, and I absolutely adore the fact that they both, like, the scene where, you know, they team up and take on the fucking elite guard and stuff and all that. Like, yes, it was a cool action scene, but, like, it felt like, after all the tension of the film, like, it just felt great, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
And the build up and everything, and the conversation afterwards, and
so let's talk about, like, Kylo and Ren. Or Rey.
Yeah.
Kylo Ren and, like, Rey.
Reylo?
Reylo? Yeah. Oh my god. Fucking... They almost Zuko Kylo.
Oh my god, that's
so
it. Holy shit.
They almost did, yeah. It was very close.
Oh god. It's...
but at the end of the day, it feels like it was inevitable that Kylo had to stay on that side.
Oh, dude, I love that turnaround where they basically just killed off Snoke and made Kylo the unhinged main villain for Episode 9. Like, I'm so pumped for that. I loved where that scene put its characters, you know? Like, I was like, oh... Because, like, I was like... I was secretly hoping that they pull Zuko with Kylo and he'd be a good guy, but I also thought that'd be kind of like a... kind of predictable, like, kind of, all right, whatever. Okay, we know where this is going to go. Now I have no idea how they're going to be, what's going to happen in Episode 9, because, like, Kylo is just fucking unhinged. He doesn't have a master to bow down to. He is the First Order, basically.
Kylo is the most interesting man in the galaxy.
It's just, it's so fucking well set, and I love how do I word this? There's a lot of... I feel like there's just too much. It's a fucking 3-hour movie.
Well, it's like... Yeah. Well, Kylo is what... Like, in a single word, is, like, basically the thing that works in the movie the best, I think.
He's also shredded.
Yeah.
Well, there's that, but...
I will say, like, those scenes with Rey and Kylo, like, while they're connecting to the Force, like, those were kind of like my favorite conversations, my favorite, like, just in terms of cinematography, like the way that like their first interaction was edited was so well done. I don't know, it was real neat to see those two basically walkie-talkieing through the Force.
I mean, I think it's a breath of fresh air to have seen that happen, because it's like the Force is always supposed to have been sort of just, the magic sort of thing. It's sort of ethereal, and you're not supposed to really be able to do like specific things with it. It's not like a system.
Yeah,
right.
It's not magic.
It's Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah, well, and I'm fine with it being Deus Ex Machina, honestly, just because, yeah, like, as long as they, like, okay, so, like, this new, in The Last Jedi, they introduced new applications of the Force, basically, like, through this direct communication, and also through, Luke's, basically, like, Force Ghost projection shit that was badass as hell, and then also, like, literally transferring matter, like, you saw, like, Kylo Ren, like, wipe away, like rain from Luke's island, like, off of his glove, that somehow transferred while they were touching, so it has some pretty neat ramifications that I think work well, honestly. Like, this isn't like some fucking midichlorian shit where they try to over-explain the Force in a scientific way and take out the magic of it. It just makes it... Go for it.
Oh, well, what I was going to say was I've been playing a lot of D&D lately. And one of the things that I was talking to someone, and it boiled down to the idea of, like, it always seems like when you have to implement Sith specifically in games, it's always like you have to have Sith lightning, you have to have this, and this is always defined. But, like, hypothetically speaking, these characters, like, those are, like, examples. It's like when you see a wizard cast Fireball. Like, it's like, yeah, wizards have fireballs, but they also have tons of other abilities and stuff, or things that they could unlock, potential that's untapped. And the fact that Luke was able to do something, like, project himself possibly, like, light years away, and just, there's just so much where it's like the Force being a more abstract kind of, like, source of, like, of energy and stuff like that is way more interesting than I can push things. You've seen you push things. Like, let's apply it to a spell slot, and you can do it this many times a day. It's like, no, it should be left as this ambiguous force that you are, if you can will it, it can happen. I mean, for fuck's sake, Darth Sidious and Darth Plagueis apparently willed the Force to create life itself. So,
right, it's just fun,
like, I think modern society has a real problem with not systematizing things, like, and turning it into something, like, viable. And it's something where, like, you remember the feeling when you first watched, like, the first Harry Potter movie and you thought, oh man, everything's magic, and it's like, I don't understand how any of this works. And then by the time you get to, like, the last few movies, you think, oh, I know exactly what systems govern everything. But then you have, like, Dumbledore casting spells without saying anything and all that shit, and it's like, oh man, it's magic again.
Well, yeah, and I think that watching these Force users and stuff, watching the Jedi and stuff do this kind of thing, like, if there's one thing I can honest to God say is, like, that there's magic in this fucking movie, and I mean, like, like, my dad always it's always weird to talk about this. My dad always explains the first time that he ever saw Star Wars and how it was fucking magical to him to see these characters do shit like that because they're space wizards, and we people our age are overexposed to it, especially thanks to Captain Prequel face, George Lucas, and
well, also with all the games and shit too, right? Like, I've played so many Star Wars experiences where you can be as a Jedi, right? And it's like, okay, like, I have these abilities. Like, all right, I'm playing as Palpatine. I can throw my lightsaber. I can shoot out lightning. I can force push. Those are my abilities, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's like we're used to thinking about these things in terms of, like, a video game or D&D, where it's
right.
Like, it's governed by, like, something underneath the hood.
I just
like, it's an ability that you trigger, and, like, this thing happens, rather than something that sort of
Luke
naturally arises out of like the needs of the story.
Yeah, like Luke tried to lift 3 rocks. Now he has to rest for a day before he can get.
Oh my god!
Yoda lifted the X-wing out of the swamp. Oh, he used this level 4 spell slot. Oh.
And it's something where like it's been a long time since I've remembered just how strong like having a good fantasy is.
Can you ever look at the time on the timestamp of how far we are, and we're just like, this is gonna be a long one?
Yeah,
we're only talking about the application of the Force. We have not gotten to characters, the plot, the
right.
Oh no, but this is going to be a long one anyways. Because we've got plenty to go through.
Yeah. Fuck. I just want to say that I love the way that Snoke was handled. You know, like okay.
So here's the thing. So where the fuck does Snoke come from? I actually don't remember if they ever told us.
No,
they've not
told
us, and I don't give a shit. Like I don't need to know.
Well, okay. I feel like we're getting excited again. So the best way of putting it is this. Remove the prequels from your mind for just a second. So so you see Emperor Palpatine in Empire Strikes Back. Yeah, he's a scary dude. He's a big scary dude. And then you see him in Return of the Jedi. He's a big scary dude. And he has a hood. And he's evil. And you get the idea. You get the idea. And then he casts Force Lightning casts. he uses Force.
He can shoot lightning for his fingertips and goes. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's fucking. He does all that shit, right? And then Vader throws him into the core, and that's the end of the Emperor, right? So when you really boil it down, the Emperor is not in there a lot. But the idea is that, like, you didn't need to know that Sith lightning was a fucking thing. You didn't need to know he was a Sith or anything. You were just like, oh, he's evil and casts lightning out of his fucking fingertips. Like, and to that extent, Snoke is one of those characters where it's like, if I only had that information with Palpatine, I'd be like, yeah, he's the Emperor. He's fucking evil. He's your stereotypic evil character. Snoke is that. To that level too. Instead of doing the lightning, though, it seems like he has a level of control of the Force that we've never seen before. And the fact that he dies is one of those things where it's like, we could have had a big fight, we could have had whatever, but like if you, I'm not sure if you guys remember this correctly, but Palpatine went out like a motherfucker. He got lifted up by his apprentice and then got thrown down a fucking chasm. Like ironically enough, Snoke was like, you're not the next Vader, and yet Kylo did it. He fucking slaughtered him.
Well, and then it was kind of a neat twist in that it seemed like that was a purposeful thing. Like Snoke was at least trying to play off that he had orchestrated Rey to show up here by planting the seed of doubt within Kylo by saying, hey, your fucking mask is stupid and you're never going to be Vader, you dumb bitch. Like that was part of the plan.
Oh, yeah.
It just kind of ended up backfiring. He went a little too far, I guess.
and like
it's like this movie is all about like the older generation getting conceited and making mistakes when it comes to handling the younger generation.
Oh yeah.
With Luke, it's like it's what he does, and then with Snoke, well, you shouldn't have done what you did to Kylo, or you wouldn't.
This is for calling my mask stupid.
Yeah, I worked really damn hard on that mask.
You have no idea how much crafter's foam I used. No.
Yeah, I don't know. So the thing is with Snoke is that I think a lot of people are upset that he's dead and that he got killed in such an unceremonious way, and that we don't know anything about him. I don't need to know anything about him because I hated Snoke. I did not like. He was one of my least favorite parts about episode 7 because he just didn't seem that interesting.
You see, I think I'm on the side that thinks like it doesn't really matter where Snoke comes from, but at the same time I dislike that we don't know. We don't at least have like that thing where you have like that one sentence that says, oh yeah, so he reasoned, and then they get on with it.
Well, I will say this much. I understand where you're coming from, but like as like to bring up another captain, another character that didn't get much of an explanation, but everyone keeps, pushing and, wants to know more about is Captain Phasma. And that character, like, as I've been informed, has, like, a really good book, and, has been in other media related to The Force Awakens and of course, The Last Jedi, where it explains that character and it goes into it a bit more. And there's no doubt in my mind that, like...
So Phasma, is that... Who is that?
That was Captain Phasma was the stormtrooper captain who
the one
Finn.
in the silver armor.
Yeah.
Shit.
Wait, was that not a joke?
Was that a bit or what?
I mean, it's a little bit of both.
Okay. Well,
yeah,
but at the same time, it's like
go for it.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
One of my gripes in this movie is that Captain Phasma kind of just got she got warped basically. She had like 5 minutes of screen time again. Like I want more Captain Phasma. Like I wanted more Captain Phasma in episode 7, and then they're all like, "Oh, like don't worry, like she'll be back. Like in the rest of the trilogy, she's gonna be a huge part." And then she just fucking gets got in 3 minutes in this film. Like,
there's a lot of things like that happen in this movie where I'm like,
yeah.
I feel like because that's another thing we can address real quick. This was not Abrams. This was produced by Abrams. This was written by someone completely different.
It was written by Ryan Johnson, right? I believe so.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Because
Sora, do you know any of his other work?
No, I don't.
I am unfamiliar completely with Ryan Johnson.
Okay, because one of the things that some people are mentioning is like...
Yeah, so what the screenplay was written by Ryan Johnson as well as directed. So
okay.
There you go.
One of the things that people are mentioning is how like there seemed to be some kind of build up to what Rey's parents were going to end up being.
Oh, I love that.
And it seemed like JJ had a vision and that Ryan did not.
No.
I mean, specifically for that. Where
yeah.
But there's so many cool like ways they enforce the theme of like legacy and generation and the future and that kind of stuff. And there's one of my favorite moments is when they break the lightsaber. The lightsaber gets snapped in fucking half because of their fucking ideology debate. Another one is just how is Luke's fate in this movie. Just all over the fucking place. Fuck this movie.
Oh no, Mitch is gonna go full circle.
Yeah, what? Oh.
No, it's fine.
It's fine. Happening, guys.
No, I no, that's the thing. Because it's like this movie, it's one of those things where it's like I watched this movie, and there's like, how do I word this? When I look at Star Wars, right? Star Wars is one of those franchises where it's like everyone knows about it, everyone talks about it, everyone's heard of it at least once. So when someone like would tell me when we were younger, it's like they haven't seen Star Wars, like Star Wars is like the first one, episode 4, is like it depends on your like views on it. Some people like it, some people don't, but most people get won over by Empire Strikes Back. Mm-hmm. Where like a lot of, even reviewers and a lot of people are like, Empire Strikes Back is not just a good Star Wars film, it's a good film. This is the Empire Strikes Back of this trilogy. There's no doubt in my mind. This is a good movie.
You see, I think taking the movie in like an absolute vacuum, it is pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like because you can't see any piece of media in just a vacuum, it has a few flaws that arise from being a Star Wars film as well.
I'm curious, like what?
I mean, it's like most of these are like little niggling details for me. Like one of them was the Snoke thing. Like, you could have just spent like literally like 3 seconds saying something and it would have been fine.
I'm Emperor Snoke, also Qui-Gon. All right.
Yeah, exactly. That would have been enough for me. They didn't do it. And then another is probably just like, fucking, what was it, Vice Admiral Holdo?
Oh yeah, Holdo being like they mentioned like one or two things about her. And the thing that, because we kind of briefly touched on it when we were talking amongst ourselves, and like one of the things that you had talked about was like it would have been nice to see her in Force Awakens or something, so we would have had more of an attachment.
Yeah, it's. I mean, not even an attachment. She could have just been like there for a scene, or been in the background, and you just throw out her name, and it's like, oh yeah, this is the Vice Admiral, and like, oh, you say hi, and then you move on.
Like Shu Li and Legend of Korra.
Yeah, pretty much, and it's like that would be enough to have like, oh, I recognize this character, and oh, this actually means something now because she's been there. We get a sentence in the movie that says, oh yeah, she's been here since forever. And it's like, well, we haven't seen her be here since forever. We haven't seen her be here since even the last film. And it's like, that kind of stuff does, even though it's small, it does matter a little.
Oh yeah, no, I could totally see that. Like, I feel like the fact that there's two different directors. Like, if it was the same director, I could totally see a setup for that. But the fact that there's two different, like, directors and kind of story creators for this one, it's gonna get a little... It's gonna get a little... not meshed, but, like, maybe foggy. Because I want to touch on Rey's parents. I want to touch on that whole subplot a little bit here.
All right.
As I'm like, is Sora still here?
I'm here.
Okay. You haven't chimed in at all.
No. He's just tuned out completely.
Okay. So one of the things I want to talk about real quick was Rey's parents, and the idea that, like, the fact that they were just shitty people, I guess, and, like, they sold her for credits and stuff. And a lot of people out there are kind of upset because they've spent the last 2 years, creating theories and stuff, and they so desperately wanted to be correct. And I think what's interesting is how I feel like there's this moment where, at least in my mind, there was the immediate disappointment of, like, yeah, they were nobodies because they had been building it up.
Oh, dude, I was so happy I was immediately happy when they said that, honestly. Like, and this is going to come off as kind of, I don't mean to sound rude, but I was immediately against Rey being related to any other Star Wars character. Like, what if she's like Obi-Wan's daughter, or like, what if she was a part of the Jedi? Like, her parents are probably Jedis or something like that. Like, why can't she just be her own character? She doesn't need a lineage, Like, she doesn't need to be related to somebody from the prequels or whatever. Like, let her be her own character. And so when Kylo Ren says, hey, like, you've known this all along, that like your parents were nobodies and they gave you up for drinking money and they're not coming back, they're dead. Like, just get over it. Like, I was like, yes, she needs to be her own character. She doesn't need a fucking, I don't know. I feel people complain about Rey being a Mary Sue. I feel like that would have just added on to that stereotype.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
it's fucking.
She's a son of she's the daughter of a Sith and a Jedi. Forbidden love.
Aside from that, just being a great moment too. It's like, I think structurally it works great.
Yeah.
Because she's playing the one who's sort of trying to preserve the legacy as someone from nowhere, on the opposite side of somebody who is the iconoclast who comes from all this legacy.
Yeah, I didn't think about it like that. That's
like,
really
it's
cool.
a much neater setup, like thematically and like structurally, than, oh yeah, so she also is from some illustrious like Jedi heritage.
Well,
right.
It's and also to add to that, it's the symbolism of the new generation, the new replacing the old kind of stuff. And I one of the things that I feel is very important to note is we love the Skywalker lineage because we followed two main characters in this series. Well, not just two. We followed multiple main characters who follow the Skywalker lineage. But like the whole point of the Jedi Order, like, say what you will about the prequels, but it did establish something that was interesting, which was sometimes Force sensitive people just pop the fuck up, and like Qui-Gon kind of points out, is like, yeah, this person popped up. We should train him to be a Jedi. Like, that happens.
You said before, right? Yeah. That it's like that's how the Jedi are like organized, because random people have Force powers.
Yeah, like the whole idea is that the Jedi way is simply being like, hey, you're Force sensitive. Let's teach you this idea real quick of like, this is how you can control your power. This is how you don't become a giant pulsing asshole.
Yeah.
And
although I will say, like, Anakin's backstory was bad because he literally doesn't have a dad, right? Like, he was literally like. His dad is literally the Force, right? I thought that's canon,
the implication is that Sidious and Plagueis sent out their Force jizz into the universe.
What, really? And
Really?
impregnate
Is that how it
Anakin's
works?
mom?
Well, no,
Really?
they didn't specifically pick the mom, but the idea was that the idea was that they were trying to create life through the Force, and
Okay, got it.
and the
That's
idea.
still fucking dumb.
No,
Like,
yeah,
God.
that's dumb. like the implication, because that's the whole opera scene. The implication was the idea that Plagueis is Palpatine's master,
right.
and so like when he's telling that story, it's like, yeah, that was 25 years ago. 25 years ago, I'm 25 years old. Like that's the only way it could have been dumber.
Right. I'm 24 and 3 months old, huh?
Okay.
But
wow.
But going back to this, like the idea that Rey doesn't come from anything. I know it does frustrate a lot of people, but I think it's very important to kind of be like, yeah, she doesn't need to have some direct connection to the story. This is how these stories go. Luke, if you just take episode 4 and you take it's like, yeah, your father was a Jedi Knight. That's cool. You have a lineage. You have something to aspire to. But the fact that she is nothing means she's a blank slate, which means she's in control of her own destiny. She can do what she needs to do. Like, Legacy's great because, you have the Skywalkers and all that stuff. But, like, look what happened to fucking Kylo. Kylo has considered one of the greatest Jedi Masters of all time, fucking Luke Skywalker. We consider him the greatest because we know him. But, like, he has.
I mean, he's crippled by the idea of legacy.
Yeah, it's a burden on his shoulder of he has Luke, like one of the people who brought balance to the Force, and Vader, one of the greatest purges of the goddamn Jedi. Like it's the duality within himself is one of the greatest problems or one of the greatest challenges he faces as a character, and so that's one of the reasons I love Kylo, is because it's like, haha, I'm half Quincy and half Shinigami. I always use fucking Ichigo Kurosaki because that one's real. But like, I'm half Quincy, half Shinigami, and like, you don't see Ichigo really deal with it. You just kind of see like, oh, I have both power sets. That's cool. But the idea is like that duality is a giant struggle, and it's enough to cause such, he's burdened, he's chained by his legacy. Snoke only kind of picked him up because like you're like the grandson of Vader or some shit, and like that's why Snoke picked him up. Like he will forever be bound by his legacy, and I think that's a very interesting and important thing to know. And one of the things that I love the most is how the movie doesn't end with Kylo sitting in a chair being like, "I'm gonna get you, rebels." It's him kind of by him, like after Rey shuts the door on him, literally. It's him kind of living with this, he's the first commander. Someone pointed out the idea that like it's not Kylo in that moment, it's Ben. And, the scared boy who, thought his master was going to kill him, he appears in that moment in the same, not to go to Dr. Horrible sing-along blog, but in the same vein of how that movie ends, where the last scene of that movie is Billy, like, kind of like scared, and not scared, but like he feels nothing. And in that moment, Ben feels the regret. It sets in it, like if it was setting in his heart before, but now it's really set into his heart. Like, he's lost Luke, he's lost Han. He didn't have what it takes to kill his mother. And it's those moments of hesitancy are what define him and make him an interesting fucking character.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like he's the villain because he's doing terrible things, but at the same time, it's not like, he's dyed himself completely the color of one side or another. like he's a human now, and that's the beauty of like Kylo Ren as our villain. It feels good to sort of see him sort of fall apart.
And it really makes me wonder how the fuck this is gonna go forward, because
it's like,
go ahead.
Oh, I think, Kylo Ren is like the most anime antagonist that I've seen in a while.
There's honestly, like, this new trilogy is pretty anime as hell, and I kind of love it. The original trilogy is pretty anime too, though, honestly.
I mean, I think, anime gets a bad rap for being like that, but I think it's just our culture has, disincentivized us from having characters where, and I really mean it, I guess, where it's like characters make sense and characters have arcs and characters develop. Even fucking Poe develops over the course of the film.
That was another thing I really enjoyed, was Poe got more screen time this movie, and because I felt like when people grouped Poe up with the main cast, I'm like, he's there, but he's not. I wouldn't call him like a main cast. Like he interacts here and there, but like I don't know.
Yeah, he's not the Han Solo of this trilogy. He's like, he's closer to I don't know, Lando, I guess.
I heard
he's
you
in his own.
I heard you try to make the connection to Lando, and you're like, you hesitated on it.
Yeah.
No, like, but like I like the idea that like. It's like Poe is just a fun character in this movie. We haven't touched a lot on the character. We kind of talked about large things, and we talked a lot about Kylo and Rey. But I do kind of want to talk about in my opinion, one of the slightly weaker links of this movie, which I would say is Rose.
Yeah.
All right. I'm super prepared to talk about Rose.
Okay, because
aside from the representation thing.
Oh,
that's like the last thing on my mind.
Okay. Fuck that. We had a whole conversation about that.
So Rose is part of the weakest storyline in this movie.
Yeah, hands down. And it's not Rose's fault. It's just.
I feel like this section either it's like badly written or someone rewrote it somewhere along the line.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you first.
Well, all I was gonna say was just fucking like the problem I feel like with Rose's fucking character is the idea that like she doesn't feel like a Star Wars character. She doesn't feel like I'm glad she's in it because her and Finn add a large sense of levity in some of these more serious moments. Like this is a dark fucking movie, man. Like, people are dying left and right. Like the rebels are fucking losing, and then
I think honestly, like the people dying in this movie is so much better than the people dying in Rogue One.
Yes,
like you feel stuff for these people, and you feel like it's a heroic sacrifice.
Oh yeah. No,
unlike Donnie Yen going out and going, "Oh yeah, the Force is with me" or whatever.
I want the Force is with me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, all right, okay, great, I get it.
Well,
go off and die now.
No, that fucking when the bomber squadron starts going down, and like you see like the heroicness of Rose's sister. And like it's holy shit, like it felt like a war movie rather than like anything else. Like it was an intense fucking scene. But like Rose's character, like what was it? They escape the casino place, and then they ride on the dog course thing, and then and Finn's like, well, oh man, it's almost like it wasn't worth it. And then she unsaddles the horse thing. She's like, it was worth it. I'm like, no, it wasn't.
I mean, it's like the entire casino thing. Like, I understand that it would have worked if it were in a different, because it undercuts all of like the tension that they built up for like, oh yeah, this mission is super important and like we don't have much time.
Well, yes, that too. I also, can we just talk about how the fact that Benicio del Toro was in this movie and like I'm like, how what?
That was
So is there a relation between like this Del Toro and the one that we like to talk about all the time?
Oh, Guillermo del Toro? I don't know, actually.
Okay.
But the
just checking.
No, the reason I wanted to kind of bring that up just lightly was the idea that like Benicio del Toro was also in the Marvel films. He plays the Collector, and so it was kind of weird to see. I'm like, I didn't know you guys could cross like that. I didn't know that you guys could do that. But with Rose's character, there's that, because that's the thing. Up until that moment, I actually I understood her character. I really was like, yeah, good for you. You know, it was good to see like another rebel in this fight. But then there's that moment, and there's one more moment where Finn is about to sacrifice himself to stop the cannon from firing, and then she crashes into him, and they're both just kind of on the outskirts of that fight now all of a sudden, and like she almost dies saving him. And she makes you can't tell if it was how the line was delivered or something, but like
I think I liked that line.
You did?
What line? The line where it's like, this is how we win, by saving the ones we love instead of...
So here's the thing. I have a theory about that line.
Oh yeah?
Which is like the entire Midpoint Casino thing was rewritten somewhere along the line, and that line is an artifact of some previous version of the script.
That's a good, actually, that's pretty good.
Because that line ties directly into Poe's development, which is everybody's fucking sacrificing themselves trying to get at the Empire. Through the entire film, but that's not the point of this film. It is not about self-sacrifice, even though some people do that. It's about saving other people. The reason why Holdo sacrifices herself is because she's saving the rest of the rebels. It's not, you go in because you're angry that you want to destroy the First Order because they're your enemies. It's to make sure that other people survive. And it's something like, I feel like Rose had something to do with that storyline before.
Yeah.
But it got changed in a certain way. I think, it got sort of Marvelized, maybe.
Yeah.
Where it's like, it was rewritten to be lighter and stuff. But at the same time, you lose like whatever character development she was supposed to have.
That's really interesting, actually. I'm very curious to see what, like, if they reveal anything about that, like when some time passes and we have some behind the scenes kind of stuff looking at it, because that'd be a very interesting development. Because that makes a lot of sense. And
but yeah, go ahead and say like what the line was supposed to have been.
Well, no,
because I think I interrupted you before.
No, it was just that scene happens, and like for me at least, it was one of the weaker moments in the film where it's like, it's like you gotta save. So yeah, it's not that you destroy and hate. You gotta, you save with love, and then like there's something about that. Like if the scene wasn't so severe, I think I would have enjoyed it a bit more. But I'm like, yes, you saved him, but
the kiss was a bit much. Because they didn't do anything in that segment that like sort of earned it.
Well, yeah. Well, that and I feel like a lot of the audience is like, yeah, but what about Rey?
Well, the thing is with that kiss, I think that kiss is very one-sided. Like honestly, like it did not look like Finn was into that at all. It looked like it was like kind of random for him. He's like, oh, okay. Yeah. At least that's how I interpreted it.
It's a Knives Chow kind of moment, which I realized saying that. I realized saying that it's not because they're both Asian.
Yes, I understand.
Okay.
We're always supposed to play second fiddle. I understand.
Fuck off. Just because you're pure blood and I'm like half blood doesn't mean that you get to play.
Oh, it's talking about Harry Potter now? Sweet.
Yeah, fucking Asian muggle blood. And anyways, so like, but like when it comes to this kind of stuff, I feel like there's a real push. Like how I walked out of the theater and like Tabby asked me how was it? I'm like, yeah, this movie's great. There's gonna be a lot of ship wars. There's gonna be like a lot of ship wars because like there's a lot of great character interactions between all the characters.
Well, I guess the only way to do it is to sink these things at light speed. In the future films.
Oh yeah, no. Josh is in a fucking rebel ship and just goes hyperspeed and has an amazing shot.
Let's talk about this now, guys. We've sort of touched on it, but man, That fucking shot.
That.
Oh my god.
No, the problem was is that shot's amazing, and then a kid ruined it.
Oh, what?
With my showing, it was an opening night showing, and the fucking entire theater went quiet.
Yeah.
Like for 30 seconds.
I heard one audible "whoa, dude!" like from the corner.
It's like you heard a gasp, and everything went quiet. It's like from the entire theater, and it's like it's magic.
No, it was such a great visual, and we're all sitting there in silence, and then you hear a kid's voice. What happened? and all the adults kind of muffle laughed. Like,
oh no, I feel so bad for you.
No,
I wish you could have had my experience.
No, but that's a thing where like it was this weird moment where it took me out of the film for a second, but then like it reminded me like in a weird way the showing itself that I went to was a great example of the theme of this fucking movie, which was just the idea of like I love how. Sorry, we're jumping subjects too many times. I think we should finish off the thing with Rose.
No, we need to tie that knot off first before we can get back to being in awe.
So I guess what I'm trying to say is like Luke's whole bit. There's this very specific line I love where he's talking about the vanity of the Jedi, and how like it's something that like I didn't think about, or something that like I guess wouldn't come to mind, but like when you really think about it, it's like, yeah, Luke's fucking right. The Jedi kind of hold themselves up, in this way where it's like, it's their own sense of self is the reason why. Maybe that's not the right way of wording it, but like they're the reason why Sidious grew to power in the first place.
In my opinion, the Jedi are.
From my point of
view, the Jedi are evil.
It's such a bad delivery. Just the line itself is so bad.
But like, even though like because it's bad, we didn't really think about it, but it's true.
Yeah, like. It totally makes sense, and one of the things that like I love the fact that Luke kind of looks at he sees the flaws within the order that he himself is part of. He understands that there are problems with the Jedi, and I it was something that I really appreciated, and I just love the idea that like Luke himself is. He like Rey's like, you have to come with me, you're gonna help us stop the First Order. It's like, what, you want me to walk up to an army with a laser sword and magic, and you want me to stop the whole fucking? I'm like, he says that line, I'm like, yeah, whoa. I felt almost like there was a giant call out to people, like, how do I word this? Luke is a human. He always has been. Even when you're a Jedi Master, you're a human first, or person, whatever. Star Wars, aliens. But like you're a character first. You're a person with emotions. And one of the things that I really appreciated was the fact that like Luke's kind of like, yeah, look, like legends are one thing, but like I can't take on the whole thing myself. Like I just, there's just something so awesome about the idea that he acknowledges it, and then at the very end he makes himself a legend and inspires those people, inspires the kids, inspires the galaxy. Because when you think about it, it's like, yeah, from their point of view, it's like, did you hear about Jedi Master Luke Skywalker, the guy who survived fucking tons of gunfire and then single-handedly
fucking Kylo Ren sliced him in half, but he survived.
Yeah.
He disappeared.
Yeah, like I love that. I love the idea that like there's just this idea where it's like Luke, it's this weird thing that we did that I think led to the prequels, and this is, just bear with me for like a second, because I know I've been rambling for a hot minute, but like one of the things that I think is very important to understand about Vader as a character is the fact that Vader is this character. Anakin is a character where he became Vader. We know Vader. We know that he's a pop culture icon. He's the big dick lord, but he was never like the chosen one before 99. Yeah, he was always like he was just a Sith Lord, or he was just this general of the Empire who was just happened to be really powerful. But then because Lucas in his weird rotted mind, fucking
it's like he subscribes to the hero's journey. right?
Yeah.
And the problem is the hero's journey thing is like biggest crock of bullshit out there as far as writing. Like literally, it's like, okay, the monomyth, sure. But if you're going to write a story based on like the monomyth thing, you're not going to ever write anything really worthwhile. Oof. Unless you are already a good storyteller.
Well, right? We'll get into My Hero Academia later. But like, it's one of those things where it's one of those things where like if you look at Vader as a character in the original trilogy, he's just some big powerful dude, and then because we knew Vader as a big pop culture icon, he all of a sudden became the chosen one, a detail that didn't need to be given to us. His birth all of a sudden became a virgin birth. Like there's all these things that happened because we know Vader. And Lucas wanted to emphasize how important it was how important Anakin was, because Anakin was all of a sudden this fucking, you know, and then all of a sudden with Anakin being this chosen one character, that it further emphasizes the importance of Luke and Leia as the legacy of the Skywalkers. And it's just this weird thing where when I hear Luke talk about like legends and all this stuff and how you can't inflate, you know, don't inflate these people, you know, the Jedi were people. They weren't, you know, they were legends, but they were so vain in their legacy. Like I love the fact that he talks about that, because in a weird roundabout way, I feel he's talking about how people treated Vader, you know, not like he's talking about his own personal legacy, but he's also talking about, like, in a weird way, I think he's talking about how we treated Vader, and how because of we treated Vader a specific way and we blew him out of proportions than what he was, that led to the prequels, that led to that chosen one thing, that led to like all this stuff.
It's like masturbatory, you know, like fawning over this icon.
Yeah, and
that turns into bad storytelling.
And exactly. And that's exactly what it is. And I think I love the idea that Luke, like, here's the thing. I know Mark Hamill had his issues with how they portrayed the character, but I feel like for the purposes of this specific story, I thought it was important. It's important for us to kind of look back on, you know, all of this. And
I thought, like, Last Jedi happened with Mark Hamill's, like, blessing.
It did, but like it took some convincing, because like he didn't like where Luke ended up. He didn't like the fact that he was bitter, and you know, and like which in my opinion makes sense. He played the character 30 fucking years ago, or I guess, oh my god, is it like 40 years now? He played the character like 40 years ago.
Been a while, yeah.
and you know, of course he would have some. You know, of course, he would have his you know his doubts about it, and you know, I mean, I totally 100% understand. I just also feel that for the sake of this very specific version of the story, I think it's important that his character is like this. But hey, I might be blowing smoke out my ass, fucking talking about Luke saying that Darth, you know, being this weird meta voice, but maybe
I mean, I think it's important, like this entire film is pretty much about sort of like it's got two thematic gyruses, I guess, or like axes. The one is, you know, you save people rather than fighting to like kill, and then the other is like the legacy thing. And it's especially with Star Wars now, because there have been two trilogies where one of them, you know, established the legend, and then the other sort of killed itself over the legacy thing. And you know, with The Force Awakens, it felt like this like new trilogy was going to do the same thing to a lot of people, and you sort of have to address that, because you know, you can't completely abandon it like, you know, Kylo Ren wants, but at the same time you need to find a way to shed the baggage that you already have. Like the meta fiction of this film is important to like sort of the how you look and process this film, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like I think I enjoyed this film for being something completely different than I ever expected in a million years.
It's also why Rose doesn't work. Because she has nothing to do with any of this shit.
Yeah, honestly, like they could have cut out Finn and Rose's entire story in the casino planet entirely if it wasn't for the final shot of that movie and showing that kid on that planet force grabbing that broom.
I mean,
if it wasn't for that, they could cut out that
sure we could have just done that.
Now, I wanted to bring up a point that I thought was really interesting. I was watching Doug Walker, kind of the Nostalgia Critic. I was watching him talk about the film a little bit, and one of the things that was brought up was the idea that was that scene. And in the back of my mind when I was watching it, I was like, this doesn't, like, I understand this is kind of like, the joke is that, this is like another wretched hive of scum and villainy, and then it turns out that it's a bunch of rich guys. Like, I get the joke, but like there was something that was off in my mind about it the entire time, and he worded it perfectly. He's like, this belonged in a prequel. This belongs in like Attack of the Clones, or like with Daxter, whatever the fuck that guy's name's, fucking 1950s diner. It belonged somewhere there. It didn't belong in this movie. And I'm a little torn on it because I did enjoy the levity of the moment, but like I also like I totally 100% understand like this didn't need to be in here. But I don't know. I know we're like an hour into this fucking conversation.
We're not done.
No, we're not. I'm just saying like holy shit, you were right. It took an hour for us to get through all this. I also kind of want to talk real quick about Benicio del Toro's role in this film.
Mm-hmm.
Now he acts as the substitute code breaker. He's very skilled, and it's one of those interesting things where it's like he's almost like a drunk Sombra, like where like but the thing I like the most about him is that when he's talking to Finn. And he's talking about like how like these dealers kind of sell to both sides of the he shows the X-wing. He's like, like what this guy sells to the bad guys, but he also sold to you. He also sold X-wings, to the fucking people will keep punching each other, people will keep killing each other, and that's how these people get by. And from his point of and it's this perspective of a man who's been in the galaxy long enough. He probably was alive during the original Empire, and he's probably like based on his age, obviously. And it just seems like the galaxy will always and forever be in conflict, and it's you either roll with the punches or you fight back, kind of stuff, And for him, he just rolls with the punches. And I thought it was a really interesting point that's kind of never really addressed in Star Wars, where it's like, you guys blow shit up and you think it's heroic, but you guys also kill people. Like, right. you kill people just as much as they do. Or
it's like the only way to win is not to choose a side, right? That's what he says?
Yeah. Because in his mind, that's how he keeps getting away scot-free with shit.
Like, it's like his character is probably the one thing that redeems the casino arc. And like I think the film wouldn't have had as much color if we didn't have his character and like his particular viewpoint.
Yeah. I just thought go ahead. I thought it was interesting, and I wonder if that's going to play in at all to anything else, because like it seems like he was planting the seeds of something there,
Sure.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind seeing him pop up again in episode 9, but I wouldn't say that I was super in love with his character. I thought he was fine and did well to raise the moral grayness of the First Order fight versus the rebels and stuff. But I don't know, like it. Meh. He didn't do much for me, and that's partially because a lot of his characters introduced in the weakest plot line in that movie. So
that's fair. I think
in a better context, he could be more
his viewpoint plays well. I guess I feel like he was in like a proto version of the story somewhere, or where it's like he plays well with like the second thematic axis, where it's like it's about the war and like why you fight the war. And to him, everybody's sort of fighting and killing each other, whereas, like, it feels like the Rebel Alliance has sort of lost sight of why you're fighting the war, I guess. Like, there is a reason to choose a side. And for, like, all these people who've sort of lost, like, the perspective, I guess, it sort of doesn't matter to you when other people are fighting and why they're fighting, because sometimes all you see is the carnage. And I think that it's something that it's valuable that exists in the movie as something that informs, the character arc of Poe and the rest of the war group, I guess.
Okay. Well,
but yeah, Holdo.
God damn. God. All right. Like, let's take a step back for a second. We've been going on for like an hour on this. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. There's a lot. There's clearly a lot. There's clearly it is a 3-hour chunked film.
Whew.
I think we should either take a break from this and talk about Boku no Hero Academia, or we start coming up with some, like, I don't know. I feel like we've been going on for like an hour right now, and it's one of those weird things where it's like, do we want to keep going with this? Because I'm still having a great time. I just, for the viewer at home, is this still, do you guys think this is still okay? Like,
Oh man, I just honestly, dude, like this is the big. If anything, I feel like we're talking about this too quickly, just because like this is the biggest movie this year, basically. So this is like kind of like all the planets are aligning. Let's talk about this huge fucking thing.
So, yeah, and not to mention we've been fucking, like, I bet every reviewer is gonna say that we've been fans for fucking ever, but like, we have. This Star Wars is one of those. We used to play Star Wars Battlefront 2 as kids. We used to.
Oh, don't talk to me about Battlefront 2 right now.
I meant the good one.
No, you don't understand, guys. Battlefront 2 by EA is totally like an allegory. About the Jedi.
God damn it.
No.
You see the Jedi and their vanity,
God damn
it. You want to go out onto the battlefield with a laser sword? Well, shit, man, you gotta buy loot boxes.
Oh, okay. Can we talk? Okay,
that's how you solve all your problems.
How about this? Let's talk about Yoda. We haven't talked about Yoda once in this entire review. We've gone for an hour. We have not talked about Yoda once. I loved him,
dude. Okay, so I had a whirlwind of emotions because as soon as they brought him in, I was like, oh no, like they shouldn't have done this. They shouldn't have. And then I listened to what he had to say, and then I also looked closely and saw what he looked like, and I was like, all right, never mind. They fucking earned this shit. They fucking earned it. Holy shit. Like,
Yoda uses Sith lightning. It's all against the material.
Oh, I didn't mind the Sith lightning part. No, I thought that was cool. The Pikachu down.
No, it's just fucking, yeah. It's fucking,
go for it.
Reinforcing that the Force is mad.
Oh, yeah. Well, I love the fact that they brought back Puppet Yoda, yes. Or at least if he's not a puppet, they made him look damn close to how he looked in the original trilogy, as opposed to how he looked in the prequel trilogy. So,
well yeah, and in this weird way, I think The Force Awakens and Last Jedi and whatever the next one's going to be, like, I feel like these feel more aligned to the original trilogy than any fucking thing else. And it's this weird thing where, like, a lot of people were like, why does he look like that? Why isn't it, CG Yoda from, I liked Hippity Hop Yoda. I liked him from Attack of the Clones. Like, yeah, but, it very much feels like this series of all, like, and it's not just the timeline, but it feels like it's very much trying to distance itself from any association with the prequels whatsoever. Going as far as Luke shitting on the prequels themselves, like in that line we talked about earlier. Like that storyline of, like, yeah, wasn't it kind of fucking weird how they just let that happen? Yeah, it was. I was very pleased that Yoda was like the little puppet self, and that he would laugh and he was fun and stuff, and like I like the levity that Yoda brought. He wasn't Clone Wars Yoda.
Right. Yeah, he was making jokes again. It just. Oh, it warmed my heart. Yeah, he wasn't. He was still spewing platitudes, but he had a sense of humor about them that made me smile more so than any moments that the original or that the prequel trilogy Yoda had. So.
Well, yeah, because once again, going back to that Darth Vader situation, it treated Yoda like a Vader in that sense, where it's like the pop culture icon that is Yoda. you know, you gotta show him being a stern Jedi Master or a stern.
Right, like this is the part where we see, like I felt like there's the onus on the prequels to show Yoda at the peak of his power as a badass Jedi, you know, or whatever. Like how he earned the Jedi Master title or whatever. You didn't need that shit. You didn't need it.
Yeah, he was just a fun dude. And even the little interaction between Luke and Yoda, like it felt so genuine in this weird way, where like it just any scene where Mark Hamill was interacting with a previous cast member felt fucking magical. Like it felt, you know, like even like the little wink to C-3PO, almost like a fuck you. Like it was great. It was just fun.
Yeah.
I mean, it was great. I love.
It's just. Like
It's
that electricity, right?
Yeah, where like especially where, you know, like he's like the idea is Mark Hamill's talking to a fucking puppet or a stand-in or something, and he's talking to like the actor is showing the emotion and you know and everything that like it just Mark Hamill's a great fucking actor. He did such a great job. Like, you know, he captured like it was the nice duality of being like you saw the old man who wants to die with Rey, but then whenever he was interacting with one of his other cast members, except for Chewbacca, which is a whole nother thing, but whenever he was interacting with R2-D2 or Leia or any of the other characters, you saw the heart of Luke Skywalker in there. You saw the
young boy.
Yeah, you saw the boy who was able to take down the Death Star. You see the warrior knight who, you know, who fought Darth Vader. You see that moment of like, you know, and in those moments, Mark Hamill really brings back that character out, and I feel like it just goes to show just how fucking great of an actor he is, that he's able to portray both of those roles very well. I love how he interacts with R2-D2. I love the fact that, like, you know, when R2 shows the clip of, you know, of Leia, you know, he's like cheap trick. And that was a cheap shot, like something like that, where it's like that felt like old Luke. That feels like old Luke. And in those moments, that's when you get the Luke Skywalker that I think the fans wanted. You get, you know, like and a lot of people are like, yeah, Luke's pretty sassy in this one. It's like, do you guys not remember New Hope? Do you guys not, like
I feel like a lot of people need to rewatch the original trilogy. Like, need to refresh their memories, as it were. You know, like
I mean, I think one of the problems is like a lot of these people who say that they're Star Wars fans probably haven't actually watched the original trilogy.
Okay, I could come from the place where I could say that that's okay. I guess, right? Like this is supposed to breed a new generation of Star Wars fans. This whole trilogy, like, you know, I think Star Wars is accessible enough where you don't even have to.
I think it's fine. But at the same time, just don't claim that you were a fan from before if you're doing this. Okay?
Oh, no, are we talking about that?
Don't say that you've been here all along.
No, there was that whole... Oh, God. Yeah, so not to throw anyone under the bus, but when I saw Force Awakens, I was so hyped for Force Awakens, and I was expressing that to one of my friends, and they were like, what, that kid show that my brother is into? And I'm like... Yeah, you're that kid show. and Force Awakens comes out, it fucking blows everyone out of the water, and then like I think it was like we were talking about something, and they were trying to impress someone. I can't remember what the fuck it was, and I'm trying so hard not to say who it was, but like, you know, and I'm like, hey, I thought you didn't like Star Wars. Like, Mitchell, I've always been a fan of Star Wars. I've always, and I'm like, oh, you mother, and I hated Star Wars again.
You and your hate of terrible fandoms. Yeah.
I just hate. Like I said, this is such a weird thing. Star Wars was one of those things that me, you, and Sora, we all bonded together with our love of this stupid.
Hell, you
series.
made a fucking sci-fi club over your love of Star Wars. I'm pretty sure you didn't like very much other fucking sci-fi aside from Star Wars.
I didn't.
You didn't even get into like Star Trek until afterwards.
Yeah, I didn't get into Star Trek until high school. But that's just the thing, you know, where like this is such a weird series to kind of to talk about, at least with fandoms and stuff, is because like there's people out there who are like my dad, who are in their 50s, who remember going to Star Wars as a kid and you know, seeing that. There's people our age who grew up in the 90s and had Star Wars, as the prequels, and we were kids. We were and as my dad likes to always put it, like we were the target audience for those movies, and that's why they sucked. Like it's one of those things where we grew up with that, like watching episode 1, and then when we were teenagers, Revenge of the Sith came out, and we thought it was fucking sick because lava was in it. And,
no other reason, right?
Yeah.
It's not that black dress.
Yeah, it's not. It's it's dark as shit. Like that movie's dark, and we were teenagers, and we're angsty little fucks.
Dude, I really liked episode 3. Honestly, I think I still enjoy it.
Yeah, no, that's no. The sad part is
I really loved the Clone Wars back when I watched it.
Well, no. To be fair, you're talking about the 2D animated shorts.
No, both.
Oh, really?
Like, the 2D animated shorts, and I really liked the movie when I watched it.
Hold up. No, there is okay. I'm not sure if you knew this, Josh. There is a 3D animated show called Clone Wars.
Oh, no, I haven't fucking seen that shit yet, but I'm talking about the Clone Wars, like the episode 2 movie.
Yeah, Attack of the Clones. Okay.
Oh, man, the fact that I'm doing 2 of these videos this week is like...
Yeah.
No, so okay, but to go back to the topic at hand, the idea is that we have we were that generation who grew up on the prequels. We were kids when the prequels were happening, and there was a lot of people our age who watched the prequels who didn't watch the original trilogy, and that's to be expected. We are now in 2017. This is a new gen. Even people our age are having fucking kids and are showing them the fucking movie.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things where it's like there's a lot of. We could have a whole fucking conversation talking about how the nerd pop culture bullshit is, a thing, and the bitterness of being of someone who was made fun of it for years, and then having everyone around you being like, I fucking love Iron Man. like we could go into that whole bit, but the idea is that with this, the Star Wars is built for a new generation, just like Sora was saying. This is, this trilogy that we're watching happen, the next one's going to be in 2019. We're watching this happen, and I gotta say, this is fucking baller. This is going great so far. And
I really enjoy it, yeah.
And I really hope the next one isn't Return of the Jedi. I really hope it's not.
No, I know.
Well, at the end of the day, it's like, while we might resent, that people are just bandwagoning onto it, I think we should feel happy that people don't have to necessarily go through all of the same things that we.
Yeah,
I'm
being a Star Wars fan.
Yeah, I'm glad that
for liking something that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm glad that kids don't have to deal with the shit we dealt with.
I mean, I'm sure that kind of shit will still sort of exist in the future forever and ever.
Yeah, but
at the same time, it's like. Well, it's like kids are always going to be shitty.
Yeah, kids are pieces of shit. But I like the idea that a kid with a Kylo Ren shirt is bullying a kid with a Finn shirt.
Oh, you had to turn this into a race thing now, didn't you?
What? You piece of shit. If I said Poe, it would have been the same thing. It doesn't fucking matter. Kids today can grow up liking Star Wars and not be berated and made fun of, and that's fucking wonderful. But I feel like let's get back to Star Wars. Let's stop talking about Star Wars. Let's get back to Star Wars. So with everything with this movie, from the messages to the very creative visuals to the
dude, it's so beautiful. That's the one thing that I think that this is the most beautifully, cinematography wise, the most beautiful Star Wars in so far. Holy shit!
It's going back to Holdo for a second. The Holdo light speed sacrifice.
Okay. I thought you were going back 20 minutes ago.
No. This is what I was trying to talk about back 20 minutes ago, but I figure cinematography is the best place.
Yeah.
So it's been a really long time since I've seen a movie that relies so heavily on CG actually do something that impressed me. A shit. because, you know, when you're dealing with CG, you're allowed to do pretty much anything that you can think of. Like, one of the problems is that you don't really have an incentive to be really inventive about a lot of things, I guess. Or at least, you know, for most people. Like, you would think that if you're given this amazing tool that lets you pretty much, okay, so anything you can imagine, you can make. Like, you think that once you have access to that, you'll make, like, the most amazing thing ever. But, you know, too many movies every different cycle, when you have access to this amazing technology that lets you make anything that you can think of, they just make, like, the same boring shit because they don't have any real limitation. And it is nice to see someone be able to conceive a moment in a film, and you can tell that, you know, they are doing something, that it's supposed to communicate an emotion. Like, it's one of the most anime moments in Hollywood that I've seen, but in a good way.
Yeah.
You know, it's something where you design a moment rather than sort of making something to fill a slot in time where you go, okay, this is where the fight happens.
Well,
and yeah.
What I just wanted to say real quick, like you had the best fucking version of that experience with the 30 seconds of fucking silence, like the fact that everyone in your theater, and except for that one dude, Sora, the fact that, like, you know, you guys had, and even my end too a little bit, you know, we all had that moment where the entire audience was just awestruck with a visual that happened, you know, like that's it's been a while. It's been a hot second since that's happened.
It's like, oh my gosh. It's like, it's something where I'd sort of thought that, you know, all big budget Hollywood blockbusters would sort of devolve into that, you know, like chaotic mess. You know, where it's like, oh yeah, because we have the ability to do everything, we'll just have everything on screen, right?
Yeah.
It'll just be like this hot mess of emotion. But it's like, sometimes you get more out of taking away some things. Like, you know, just lingering on that moment. And it's something that whoever created that moment in The Last Jedi, I'm so thankful for them.
God. Like, it's... Okay, speaking just on visuals real quick, can we talk about it's not Hoth, but the planet they're on at the final.
I think it's called like Crate or something.
Crate, yeah, I think that's what it's called.
Like,
you know, like somebody once mentioned that they didn't like the fact that, you know, somebody took like their finger and like wiped it across the dirt and then like licked it and said, "Oh, this is salt."
Yeah, I thought that was kind of silly.
For some reason, I fucking loved it because it felt so meta.
Well,
yes.
Well,
all the songs.
Well, did you know that that's actually a director? It's
Gareth Edwards is in the is he the guy who's licking the thing?
I think that's him. I'm pretty sure that's him.
So Gareth Edwards is the guy who directed Rogue One.
Yeah,
but it's like, you know, this entire planet is made of salt. It's like something about it just.
They were prepared for all of the opinions.
do you taste Cheeto dust? I feel it's fucking.
Well, the Cheeto dust is underneath, the salt. It's like it's the flaming hot Cheeto dust, so it's red.
Yeah, no, okay, so that's the thing I want to talk about real quick. Was the planet itself was very interesting visually, but like all the visuals of the final acts of the moment, the movie, where Luke's fighting Kylo and everything, like I just love how much contrast was everywhere.
Oh yeah,
the red on white, the fucking, like, using the promotion art and everything too, like the way that Luke looks, the way that Kylo looks, the way that like everything just contrasts so nicely, and the idea of balance in just imagery is great.
It has been so long since I've seen a film with strong imagery. I mean, granted, I saw Baby Driver, but that's not the point. Like, it's really...
It's a different kind.
Yeah, but it's like... It's been a long time since I've seen like a film that's had such strong imagery that's been able to move the way that Star Wars has. Because it's like, you know, what, like, modern films move the camera around a lot, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, because of that, you have less opportunity to sort of construct visually interesting shots. You know, there's that constant complaint about how, like, Marvel films are filmed with, like, 7 different cameras all in one take. And because of that, they all look sort of samey because, like, there's nothing consistent in those shots. But with this, it's like everything looks like it has, like, some intention to the movement of the camera, and it adds so much, honestly.
There's really nice, simple shots that I wanted to kind of, because we're talking about it.
Yeah.
The telepath link shots with Kylo and Rey.
Yeah, weren't they just like simple shot reverse shot?
Yeah, but like there's something about it where I was there in my mind. I'm like, oh, it's Hollywood. They're gonna fucking put some sort of weird visual to show that they're talking to each other. But it's like no, they just did reverse or shot reverse shot. And I'm like, oh,
it's like it's so much like of the meat and potatoes stuff that we haven't had in so long.
Oh God,
like I forgot how much I missed it. Like just strong filmmaking.
God, I feel like this is like. Oh, this movie was just really good. Like
I really enjoyed it. I need to see how I feel about it. Like, because right now I'm really hot on it because I still feel like we're really close to seeing it. You know, like I need to let my opinion settle a little bit. I'm gonna see it again, and I wonder where my opinion is gonna lie like a few months from now. Because like that's why I don't want to give out like a ranking or anything.
No, yeah, no. How about this? Would you guys be interested in us coming back to this? Let's say in February or something like that, where like we let it sit. We don't make it an hour-long segment. We let it sit and we see how we feel about it.
Sure, and I would like to open that up to like where we would rank this. I would like to rank Star Wars.
If we're doing that, we might as well bring like Aaron and.
Yes. Make it a round table.
Yeah. We'll make it a round table. We'll all talk about the movie, like 3 months down the road. I feel like because I feel like you're absolutely right. There is a chance that I for one particularly, I felt kind of weird about Rogue One. And you can listen on that review.
Yeah,
Rogue
One significantly deteriorated on multiple watches for me.
And that's the thing. I've yet to see The Force Awakens twice.
Oh really? Oh wow. Okay.
I'm very much nowadays. I'm very much one and done, except for like a few films. But I want to rewatch The Force Awakens one more time, and I want to let this one sit for a little bit. That being said, is there anything else we kind of want to talk about? Like, I don't want to push you guys to do anything. The problem is that we are kind of an hour 20 in, and we still have
No, I'm good on Star Wars for now.
I think for the most part, I'm fine letting it sit as is.
Yeah,
because like I don't gush over things very often, but I just like climax all over like fucking the visuals and stuff. So
yeah, definitely.
I'm spent.
Can we talk about the fucking awesome? I don't know. I feel like I wasn't much of a Rilo shipper before, but now I'm like, it's there though. It's there. All right. Anyways, guys, if you guys listen to this hour and 20-minute long review of Star Wars: The Last Jedi and you haven't seen the film, go see it. It's fucking great. If you have already seen it, do let us know what you thought about it in the Discord, actually, because I'm very curious to see what other people thought. I know a lot of people. This is a very decisive movie. It seems like you, and Josh. We all kind of agreed that we liked this movie, and we talked about how much we like this movie for an hour and 20 minutes. But but people out there don't really see, like. There's some people out there who don't seem to like it, and I'm very curious as to why. Because I like to understand where people stand. That being said, we're gonna start talking about the second topic of the night, which was Boku no Hero. I hate the fact that I have to say that. It's My Hero Academia 16. Now, this is one of those weird things where we will not be spending an hour 20 minutes talking about this, because I feel very easily that this is another fun. This is a conclusion to the battle obstacle course bit.
This is the first round of the what is it? What are they fucking called?
The sports festival.
Sports festival. Thank you.
Yeah.
So the first round of the sports festival.
Yes. this is one of those bits where this was my biggest fear of the night was the My Hero Academia episode gonna be one of those ones where it's like, it was fun. Because I feel very strong.
I mean, I'm half tempted to just do that.
Yeah, I am too, actually.
But at the same time, I'll give it 30 seconds. Right?
All right. Yeah, Mitch's media minute review. Okay, so this is what I thought. This episode was really fun to look at. The problem is that there's not a lot of substance. It feels very much like this is one of those episodes that like feels to me very much like, it reminds me a lot of tuning exam stuff, which it's very ironic.
Hey man, I love the tuning exams.
I did too, but the thing is that the tuning exams works in giant chunks. We watched one episode tonight, which was my choice. I chose for us to do that. I didn't want to watch 2 episodes because I knew that we had to talk about Star Wars. And the thing that I wanted, and it was
very wise in hindsight.
Like, it was one of those things where it's like, I very much enjoyed watching the episodes. I thought it was very interesting to see how Deku decided. I keep calling him Deku. Midoriya.
You might as well. It's like, he's accepted the name, right?
All right, yeah. It was interesting to see how Deku solved the problem and he ended up in first place. Like, that was really cool. But overall, the episode's very much one of those meh episodes for me. It was cool to see all the different powers kind of act, but there wasn't a lot of substance in those episodes.
I mean, there's also the fact that we just got off of talking about Force of the fucking Last Jedi, right?
Well, yeah, but the thing is, even if we didn't, I think there's not much to talk about in this episode. Like, everyone has quirks. And they do some world building with, this is the business section, this is the gadget section. It's like this is for the person who wants to be Batman. Like it just feels like it feels very like world building and but like not much substance with the actual characters themselves.
Well, the characters aren't really moving forward, really.
Yeah.
As like we've seen in a lot of other episodes.
Yeah.
It's all just it's that action beat. Before anything significant happens.
I kind of feel bad for talking about this episode now because like it just feels like such a lackluster thing compared to Star Wars.
Well, I mean, one is a multi-million-dollar budget, franchise and probably the most
with legacy.
yeah,
God damn it.
And the other is a 23-minute episode in an ongoing anime, a very good one.
Notably. Like the episode where they cut the budget down a little bit so that they have more to spend in the other episodes.
Yes, no,
this is episode like 3 of the season.
Yeah, we're in full budget saving mode. Like,
we're in economy.
To its credit, like this, like animation wise, I still think this episode is above average for an anime.
It's by Studio Bones, right?
Right,
so
like Bones knows shit. They know how they get it done. But really, this is really kind of just the lead up to the good shit of the sports festival. I think the second round onward is really, really good. So I'm pumped.
Yeah. All right. Well,
I always do that after every single year. I'm pumped for the next episode.
Like it's okay. Like, just keeps going. Like, yeah. Like once again. If anything, I will say this much: I'm excited to see more, as I say every single time I watch an episode of My Hero Academia. But I'm more excited about that sweet fighting game that's going to be coming out, and I think that's where I'm gonna end things tonight on Velvetcast number 39. All right, guys. If you like this video, give it a like. Let us know what you think down below in the comments, and if you haven't already subscribed. We do have a Patreon that helps us support the show. Our current goal is $100. We can make $100 a month. We will place the Velvetcast as well as the Adventurecast onto an audio platform, either iTunes, SoundCloud, or there's like one other whose name is escaping me right now. It probably won't be that one because I don't know it. If you guys tell us what you think about Star Wars, because like I said, I'm very curious to see what you guys think.
And then he's gonna tell you that you're wrong.
I just want to know, man. Like, because that's the thing. Like, I might do that, but like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, yeah, like there's a chance. But yeah. And if you have any questions for us specifically, me, Sora, and Josh, there's a little section in our Discord called as I look for it right now, podcast questions, where you can go and,
this doesn't bode well.
and you can ask us any questions you want about why we suck, or why we were a bunch of losers when we were kids, or anything like that. Or and you can also leave a comment down below in the comment section of the YouTube video, and I tend to check those every now and then. But the easiest way to do it is through the Discord, admittedly. Anyways, guys, next time on the Velvet Room.
Yep. Have a good night, guys. Thanks for listening.
Stay tuned.